All right, so for this video, we're just going to go back over some order of operations because when we start solving equations, it's super important that you have these down because to solve an equation, we're unpacking how we got there, which means we actually do our order of operations in reverse. So in order for us to do something in reverse, we have to really know it in order as well. And there's just a common mistake that people make when they're doing order of operations anyway, that I just wanted to make sure that we just are all aware of. All right. And when we do our order of operations for this unit, I know I said we're never going to put an X anymore for multiplying. It's just in a lot of these order of operations, it's just hard to, because if we start writing parentheses, it can maybe confuse some people. And also, parentheses could imply a certain set of grouping, which then means that that needs to actually go first. So I am going to put some X's and also parentheses when we're dealing with multiplication. But you might see a little bit more X's for multiplying just in this little part. After this, it's going to go back to no more X's because we'll be dealing with variables very soon. And X is a variable that we use 95% of the time. All right, but our order of operations, you might have learned it as PEMDAS or BODMAS, but it means P is for parentheses, E is for exponents, M is for multiply, D is for divide or division, A is for addition, and S is for subtraction. Now, when you write it like this, people just think that multiplying comes first. In actuality, the way that maybe we should be writing this when we're doing our order of operations, but the way that I like to write it at times, especially when we're learning it, is like this, because here people just get confused that multiplication has to come first because that's the way it's written. When in actuality, when we get to multiplying and divide, we go to our problem from left to right. So whatever comes first, left to right, is what we actually do first. For addition, it's the same way. It's left to right. But the difference with addition and subtraction, whether we do adding first or subtracting first, we're always going to get the same answer. Where multiplying and dividing, order does matter. And you'll see on this question that order does matter. So when we go through this and we're solving our order of operations, the first thing that you should be doing is highlighting what is going to come first. So I see there's no parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and cross that out. There's no exponents, so I'll cross that. So now I see there is multiplying and dividing. So I'm going to highlight what comes first from left to right. So that means division is going to come first. So the first thing I'm going to do is 18 divided by 3. So now we have 14. Well, 18 divided by 3 is 6, so plus 6. And then I have the times 2 minus 7. So now I'm going to go left to right. All right, I see we have multiplying. So now I'm going to multiply them two together and get 6 times 2 is now equal to 12. So 14 plus 12 minus 7. And now since it's adding, subtracting, I really can go in any order I want. But I'll do 14 plus 12 is now 26. Minus 7 is going to give me 19. So that is the final answer for this when we're going through and using our order of operations. What a lot of people end up doing, though, and the answer that a lot of people might have gotten is first, because they think multiplying has to come first, is they would have multiplied that. And they would have said, well, 14 plus 18 divided by 6 minus 7. Well, 18 divided by 6 is 3. So 14 plus 3 minus 7. 17 minus 7 is then 10. So you see, it doesn't give us the same answer if we're not multiplying and dividing properly. So this is incorrect. We must go left to right once we see dividing and multiplying. All right, so just make sure that you are being aware of what you are actually being asked to do. The next question, I'm going to start highlighting things a little bit differently and kind of maybe introduce some new words that you maybe never heard before, but in the future, it's words that we're going to be using maybe not this year, but next year quite frequently. Later on this year as well, we will. All right, so here we're asked to, same thing, our order of operations. So we have our PEMDAS. All right, so what I like to actually do is I look for any addition or subtraction and seeing what's in between there. And if there's like multiplying and dividing here, I highlight it all together. What we're going to learn in the future is that anything that's separated from an addition or subtraction is actually called terms. So we have this 9 is considered a term, and this whole part here of 15 divided by 5 times 2, that's also considered a term. So when I see things being broken up by that plus or minus, I look to see if there's anything being multiplied or divided in between there. And I kind of highlight that whole group. And then in that group, I go left to right, because what happens is some people will just add these together and they'll do their addition. But by me highlighting these portions, it's telling me I need to do this first. So before I can worry about this adding, I need to go ahead and do this first. All right. So now we're going left to right. Well, the division comes before multiplication in our left to right. So now I'll do that first. So 19, well, positive 15 divided by positive 5 is a positive 3. And this is being multiplied by 2. So now I need to do my multiplication. Well, positive 3 times positive 2 is positive 6. So it becomes 9 plus 6, which our final answer is 15. All right. There's 3 more questions we're going to go through, and we're going to now start introducing multiplication going first, like you guys probably are used to, and then some exponents and parentheses. All right, so here we're going to be doing our PEMDAS. All right, this one I see I have my minus here. Now, when you do have that minus, make sure you are identifying that this is actually a -2 that we're doing. So when we're multiplying and dividing and all that and adding, subtracting, make sure we're including that negative number with it. Because if we have 2 negatives, we have to remember to change it to a positive. All right, so the first thing left to right we have is this multiplication. So I need to do 2 times 24. So now we have, well, it's -2 times positive 24. So it's 10. It's still going to be minus, because a minus times a positive or a negative times a positive is negative. And 2 times 24 is 48. So now we have divided by 8 times 6. So here I see that left to right, I need to make sure that I'm doing this properly. And my division is going to come first. So I'm going to be dividing -48 divided by positive 8. Well, negative divided by positive, I know is going to be negative. So it's 10 minus still. And 48 divided by 8 is going to give me 6. And now we're multiplying it by 6 still. And -6 times a positive 6 is going to give me -36. So it's 10 minus 36. And 10 minus 36, well, we know when we have different signs, we subtract. We do the bigger number minus a smaller number, which is then going to give me 26. Since the quote-unquote larger number had a negative sign with it, though, that means that we are going to have negative as our answer, so it is minus 26. All right, so just make sure that when we do this, a lot of times people just automatically will do multiplying first, so they would have did 6 times 8 and 2 times 24, and then they would end up getting 48 divided by 48, which would have given them 1, and they would have got 9 as their answer, which you see is way different than -26. So make sure that we're following our PEMDAS accurately, and that means when we get to multiplying and dividing and addition and subtraction, we go left to right. The difference with addition and subtraction is it doesn't matter the order. You'll always get the same answer. Where multiplying and dividing sometimes may work out where it still gives us the right answer, where sometimes it won't. All right, so let's go ahead and move to the next one. All right, so maybe you pause this video first and see if you can get the same answer as me. But we have our PEMDAS, and now we start seeing some parentheses and some exponents. So we have our PEMDAS that we're going to be doing. So the first thing I'm going to do now is parentheses. So that means I need to do everything inside of these parentheses before I can do anything else. So I'm just going to focus on this left-hand parentheses first, and I'm going to go through it step by step and say, okay, well, what's being done? So I see I have an addition. I see I have a subtraction, and this 3 with a little small to it means exponent. And for those of you who might not be aware, this power or exponent tells us how many times we're multiplying this base together. So this is saying we're multiplying 3 together 2 times. If it said 3 to the 3rd power, then it means we're multiplying 3 together 3 times. So it's just telling me how many times I'm multiplying that number together. Now, there is a huge difference if I wrote -3 squared or -3 squared. This means I'm doing -3 times -3, which is a positive 9, because it's the parentheses is the negatives inside the parentheses. Here you see we're taking it, there's no parentheses, so we're actually doing the negative of 3 squared. So then we're doing negative, and then it becomes 3 times 3 or -9. So make sure if you see that the negative is inside of parentheses, that means we're multiplying that negative number by itself that many times. If it's not in parentheses, then we're not including it when we're multiplying. So the first thing within this parentheses to the left-hand side I'm going to do is square that 3. So now it becomes 10 plus 59 minus 9. And now we're just adding and subtracting. So 10 plus 59 is 69. So it becomes 69 minus 9. And 69 minus 9 is 60. So it's now 60 divided by. Now I'm going to go ahead and look and see, well, what's in this other parentheses? So we're dividing it by, well, 24 minus 4 is 20. And that's all that was in those parentheses. So for all of these, I'm just going to be dividing by 20. And now we only have 60 divided by 20, which is equal to 3. All right, so just make sure if we have parentheses, we do everything that's on the inside of that parentheses first. still following our order of operations within that parentheses, and then exponents, multiplying, dividing left to right, and addition, subtraction left to right. All right, there's just one more question, and then that is it for this video. All right, so same thing as the other one. If you want to, maybe pause this video and see if you can get the answer. But we look and say, okay, well, what do we have? Well, I have two sets of parentheses, so I know I need to do what's in there first. So the first thing I'm going to do is in here, I have 6 plus 4. There's nothing else I can do. And that gives me 10, so it's 10 squared. And it's going to be divided by, well, here, division needs to come before addition. So it becomes divided by, well, 20. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5, so plus 5. And now I'm going to finish what's inside this parentheses. So I have 10 squared divided by 25. And now I look and say, okay, I did all my parentheses. So now I see that this little 10 to the second power, so that's my exponent. Well, 10 squared is equal to 10 times 10, times 10, which is equal to 100. So now I have 100 divided by 25, and that gives me 4. All right, so just make sure the main thing is order of operations. We go left to right with multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting. That's where a lot of people seem to get trouble with. And now you're just going to go ahead and just try and practice some of these. And even if there's fractions, we still will use these same rules of going left to right with fractions as well. But for now, we're just going to focus on the integers.